So we're back again to this time-old question which many players have had. When will the large ships truly become dominant? Over the years we have seen some shifts in power. Like light fighters, they were the kings for the longest time. The medium fighters had their moment, and even large ships enjoy periods of dominance. I'm not talking fully about PvP here. Light and medium fighters still hold their ground pretty competitively there. What I mean is missions and events and the full open world experience with all the possible combat scenarios. For some time now, a pretty decent, pretty strong damage dealer for single person has been the Trade Corsair. We've seen Polaris vaporize Idrises with torpedoes, and Idrises themselves railgunning or blasting everything apart with their heavy weaponry. This means the weapon power ceiling has clearly grown over the years and even accelerated recently. Let's be honest, the Idris railgun will ruin your day in almost a heartbeat. Almost regardless of a ship you're in, it is a big threat if it can hit you. Same can apply for the torpedoes and the laser beam, which is equally terrifying and causes massive amount of damage. Yes, the shift has been quite significant over the years, and some ships are clearly meant to not operate alone, although capable of doing massive damage, with just a single person operating main parts of the machine. This does not mean they are efficient at everything and they will be able to dominate against several players. So when will large ships, subcapital ships and capital class ships become truly dominant in the game? First of all, ships of that scale require quite a bit of crew. Realistically, they can make sense only when operated by an organization or a dedicated group. It seems far more likely that you find a capital vessel handled by 2 to 5 experienced players working together than this massive capital Idris manned by 10 to 15 randoms that running around and performing unknown duties, as there might not be experience for all of the players to operate such a ship, nor the structure of orders how to manage and which groups or which players should be working on what. Technically you could man all the guns, but then it comes down to life support and power management and the engineering side of such a ship. Right now it doesn't matter, but eventually that will be a big thing, and in a large ship like Idris or Polaris, it can be quite important. But before even engineering, the first step of making these ships viable is a proper organization tool in game. Players need systems to coordinate, manage roles and actually work together for a shared goal. This doesn't mean there aren't other ways to manage your crew right now, however this would be such a comfort of life that guilds and other organizations could form where players might feel that they're a part of something bigger and thus work for a bigger goal, perhaps operating a ship, perhaps working towards gaining a ship. Another step would be content designated specifically for these types of ships. Dynamic events with fleet battles, where cargo recovery is requiring heavy protection, or missions that demand a ship with a powerful, durable or unique feature. Basically a raid style encounters where bringing capital ships is just essential. If a mission requires countering a powerful enemy capital ship or fleet, then the ships like Polaris will finally have their defined role. And in deeper mechanics like engineering gameplay, where maintaining and repairing under pressure becomes critical, then suddenly these ships can feel alive. In places like Bir-dy, there can be PvP, there can be PvE, and there can be PvP-PvE scenarios to justify their scale. Specialized content should deter small fighting groups, making them inefficient against properly crewed capital vessels. Even a squadron of fighters should struggle to take down Polaris quickly. While its turrets and resilience provide a strong deterrent, this doesn't mean they will be efficient all the time everywhere. Surely Polaris should be a threat, but then again a lot of small vessels and a single Polaris should also feel a bit of pressure. Right now, I think the biggest roadblock is that the systems to support large ships simply aren't in place. Crewing remains the first challenge without organized groups. They can be hard to operate efficiently. On top of that, reward for the content to do with a large group need to make sense. Everyone on board should feel rewarded, not like they're stuck in a turret firing for 20 seconds every 20 minutes. That's not engaging gameplay, nor is it rewarding when you get paid 20,000 for 2 hours wasted. And of course, the more complex the scenario, the more coordination challenges arise, especially when relying on randoms. At present, the only meaningful role for capital class ship has been dynamic events, and those are good, straight to the point, well, usually. Expanding on them alongside improving communication and coordination tools could finally push these massive ships into their intended place in the game. And before I finish, I want to point out that we have a lot of turrets in this game. and quite a bit of them are inefficient. Some have bad angles, others have poor weapons. So in a way, turret gameplay isn't ideal as a deterrent. This is a bit different for capital ships, as they do have the shields to withstand heavy beatings. Plenty of these size 3 turrets and below, at the best of cases, they are an occasional annoyance. Don't get me wrong, they can hurt, but if you have many different targets, how efficient can they be? Perhaps only when focusing on a single target. So yes, a lot of these capital ships still need content, structure, crews, and other gameplay systems or features which are not yet implemented. But I hope we will start to see bits and pieces of it over the next year or two. Anyway, don't forget to like, subscribe, leave a comment down below, and thanks for watching.